Grace Whitfield adjusted her modest blue dress, hands trembling. It was simple, nothing like the designer pieces Sophia wore, but Lucy had insisted it brought out her eyes. "You look beautiful," Lucy said. "Daniel's been charmed by your words for weeks. Tonight, he gets to meet the real you." Grace nodded, though doubt lingered. Men always compared her to Sophia, but Daniel had seemed different. He'd asked about her grandmother's recipes, her dreams, her favorite books. He'd made her feel seen. Downstairs, their mother's voice carried over the phone. "Yes, Grace finally has a date. Someone from the Chen Restaurant Group. Very successful. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you." In her loft across town, Sophia froze mid-Instagram post. "Chen Restaurant Group?" She typed quickly. "Daniel Park, executive assistant to CEO Alexander Chen." Her eyes widened. $2 billion in valuation. Her own engagement had collapsed months ago, and her credit cards were maxed out. This was the lifeline she needed. Within minutes, she was in crimson silk, calling for a car. She'd get to the restaurant first, claim to be Grace, and secure this connection before her sister even arrived. At Billionaire, the city's most exclusive restaurant, the maitre d' smiled at the vision in red. "I'm Grace Whitfield," Sophia said smoothly. "Meeting Daniel Park." "Of course, Miss Whitfield." Sophia spotted him at once. Tall, impeccably dressed, the air of someone used to control. She flashed her practice smile. "Daniel, I presume? It's wonderful to finally meet you." "Grace," he said, voice unreadable. "Please sit." Sophia leaned in, all charm. "Your messages were so thoughtful." "Tell me," he said mildly, "what was your favorite?" She faltered. "All of them. You have such a way with words. And your grandmother's recipe. Remind me what it was?" Her pulse jumped. "Her pastries. They were legendary." "Specifically, does it matter?" She laughed. "We're here now. That's what counts." Across the room, the real Grace arrived. Late, nervous, scanning for Daniel. Only to see Sophia at a candlelit table, her hand on his arm. The sight hit like a punch. Her sister had stolen her date. Grace turned to flee, but a voice cut through the room. "Excuse me." The man stood, his gaze locked on her. "You're Grace." Grace froze. "I'm sorry, No," he said, stepping forward. "I came here for you." Sophia blinked. "Alexander." The man's tone shifted. "My name isn't Daniel. I'm Alexander Chen. I own this restaurant, and I've been speaking with the woman who loves honey almond cake, who dreams of feeding souls. That woman is you, Grace." Gasps rippled. Phones lifted to record. Sophia's face drained of color. "You deceived me. I tested you," Alexander said evenly. "You deceived her." Humiliation flushed Sophia's cheeks. She fled without another word. Alexander turned to Grace, gentler now. "I apologize for the scene, but I meant what I said. Would you stay for dinner?" Grace hesitated. Billionaire CEOs didn't choose women like her. Yet his eyes held no pretense, only recognition. Lucy's words echoed. "You deserve someone who chooses you first." Grace drew a steady breath. "Okay, let's have dinner." As Alexander smiled, Grace caught her reflection. Same simple dress, same uncertain eyes, but something had changed. For the first time, someone had seen her. Grace woke to a flood of notifications, millions of views, thousands of followers, and one viral hashtag. Hashtag #RealGrace. The video of Alexander standing in a crowded restaurant declaring, "I came here for you," had turned her humiliation into the internet's favorite love story. But the comments split her open, half romanticizing her, half accusing her of scheming for fame. By morning, the bakery was chaos. Customers crowded the counter, phones out, voices buzzing. Grace tried to work, but her hands shook. Daniel Park arrived, apologizing for the deception. "Alexander started messaging you himself. He just wanted to be sure you were genuine." Grace could barely breathe. "How can I trust any of this?" Daniel only said, "He'd like to see you tonight. Privately. No cameras." Then her mother arrived, defending Sophia. "You've dragged our family through scandal," Helen said. Lucy snapped back. Grace didn't drag anything. She finally got seen. Grace, trembling, told her mother, "I'm done apologizing for being second best." After Helen left, Grace cried. For years of invisibility, not last night's spectacle. Then came Alexander's text. "Whenever you're ready, I'd love to hear your voice." Grace exhaled. I'm going to dinner, she told Lucy. Good, Lucy said. It's about time someone chose you first. Grace arrived at Alexander's Pacific Heights penthouse feeling wildly out of place in her Target dress. He greeted her in jeans and a button-down, disarmingly normal. Thanks for coming, he said. I know yesterday was overwhelming. The penthouse was elegant but warm, filled with books and soft light. In the kitchen, Alexander cooked simple stir-fry as they talked honestly for the first time. He confessed how past betrayals had made him wary. I needed to know you were real, he said. By lying to me? Grace asked. By protecting myself, he admitted. But I was wrong. Their walls lowered over shared truths, his lost mother, her buried resentment toward her family. Then he showed her a photo of his mother's egg tarts. Grace helped him recreate the recipe, adjusting sugar and fat until the flavor brought tears to his eyes. When he hugged her, the connection felt raw and real. Their kiss tasted of sugar and new beginnings, until his phone rang. Ethan Wong contacted your sister, Alexander said grimly. He's my former partner. Dangerous. Grace's pulse quickened. If he wants to use her against you, he'll succeed, unless we face him together. Alexander met her gaze, admiration flickering. Then together it is. Ethan Wong, all polished charm and expensive tailoring, met Sophia Whitfield in a private lounge. She looked shaken, followers lost, sponsors gone, reputation in ruins. Ethan smiled sympathetically. Alexander Chen ruins people. He used me, discarded me. Now he's doing the same to your sister. Telling and preparing this story took us a lot of time. So if you're enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Sophia hesitated. What are you suggesting? A narrative shift, Ethan said smoothly. I'll fund a PR campaign. We expose Alexander as a manipulative billionaire. You regain control. Sophia's bitterness hardened into resolve. I'm in. The next morning, Grace found fake spray painted across her bakery windows. As she scrubbed the paint with Lucy, Daniel, and a worried Mrs. Rodriguez, Alexander arrived with bodyguards. Grace refused protection. I handle my life my way. They argued until Daniel brokered peace. One security camera, no guards. Grace reluctantly agreed. Later, Mrs. Wu offered tea and quiet wisdom. Trouble tests what we claim to value. Are you the woman who hides, or the one who fights? At sunset, Alexander joined Grace on the bakery steps. They apologized, choosing trust over pride. We'll figure it out, he promised. Across the street, a camera clicked. Jennifer Kim captured the tender moment, proof Ethan Wong would soon use to ignite his next move. Grace woke to disaster. Hashtag Grace the Grifter was trending worldwide. Sophia's tearful video, professionally lit, perfectly acted, painted her as a remorseful sister and Grace as the naive pawn of manipulative billionaire Alexander Chen. Within hours, articles and think pieces echoed Sophia's lies. Protesters gathered outside the bakery with signs reading, "Stop exploiting women." Orders vanished. Even Mrs. Rodriguez stopped coming. Then her mother called. You need to fix this, Helen urged. Sophia's video has 50 million views. Do you even care that I'm being destroyed? Grace asked. Helen faltered. I thought you didn't need me like she did. I was wrong. Before Grace could respond, Alexander went live. Standing beside Daniel, he said calmly, I met Grace through a dating app. The messages were real. Sophia impersonated her. I reacted badly, but I won't apologize for choosing authenticity. Ethan Wong, my former partner, is behind these lies. He was removed for fraud. Court records prove it. Grace cried as the video ended. He just risked everything, Daniel said. For me, Grace whispered. Outside, reporter Jennifer Kim lowered her camera, guilt flickering. Grace turned to Lucy and Daniel. I'm seeing my sister. This ends now. Across the street, Ethan Wong watched, smiling. The real game was just beginning. Mrs. Wu's apartment smelled of jasmine tea and old photographs. Grace sat on the worn sofa while the elderly woman retrieved a wooden box from her bedroom. Your father gave me this before he died, Mrs. Wu said, opening it carefully. He asked me to tell you when the time was right. Inside were letters, adoption papers, and photographs. Grace's hands trembled as she read. Sophia isn't your biological twin, Mrs. Wu said gently. Your mother had a late-term miscarriage 28 years ago. She fell into terrible depression. Your father, desperate to save her, arranged a private adoption. A teenage mother couldn't keep her baby. They decided to raise Sophia as your twin sister, believing it would heal Helen and give both girls equality. Grace stared at the documents. Sophia doesn't know? No one told her. But children sense these things. She always felt different, never quite belonging. That's why she tried so hard to be special, to prove she deserved her place in your family. Tears streamed down Grace's face. Everything makes sense now. Her desperate need for attention, her jealousy, her fear of being replaced. Mrs. Wu handed her another envelope. From your father. He wanted you to have this when you found true love. Grace opened it with shaking hands. Her father's handwriting brought fresh tears. My dearest Grace, if you're reading this, you found someone worth fighting for. Now you must fight for your sister too. Sophia was loved from the moment we held her. She is your sister in every way that matters. Tell her the truth. Help her understand she was never an outsider. She was chosen. Love, Dad. I have to tell her, Grace whispered. Yes, Mrs. Wu agreed. Before Ethan Wong does. Grace's phone buzzed. A text from Daniel. Emergency. Ethan knows about the adoption. He's planning a press conference tomorrow. Grace's blood ran cold. If Ethan revealed this publicly, framing Sophia as the fake twin, it would destroy her sister completely. She called Alexander immediately. I need your help. Not your money or your power. I need you to help me save my sister. Anything, Alexander said without hesitation. What do you need? Help me find Sophia before Ethan destroys her. Alexander's response was immediate. Daniel's already tracing her phone. We'll find her, Grace. I promise. Grace looked at the adoption papers, at her father's letter, at the truth that had been hidden for 28 years. This secret had poisoned her family, made Sophia feel like an imposter, and driven a wedge between sisters who should have been allies. No more secrets. No more lies. It was time for the truth to heal instead of harm. Helen called as Grace was leaving Mrs. Wu's apartment. I just spoke to Sophia. She's at her apartment, packing. She says she's leaving San Francisco forever. I'm going to her now, Grace said. Mom, did you know? About the adoption? Silence. Then a broken whisper. Yes. And I'm so sorry. For all of it. Come to Sophia's apartment, Grace said. We're going to fix this. As a family. The way we should have years ago. For the first time in her life, Grace wasn't asking permission or seeking approval. She was taking charge of her own story. And this time, she was bringing her sister home. Grace found Sophia's apartment door unlocked. Inside, the space looked ransacked. Designer clothes in garbage bags, furniture tagged for repossession, empty wine bottles on the counter. Sophia sat on the floor surrounded by photographs, mascara streaking her face. She looked up when Grace entered, then laughed bitterly. Come to gloat? The pretty twin finally loses everything. I came to tell you the truth, Grace said, sitting beside her. About why you've always felt different. Sophia's eyes narrowed. What are you talking about? Grace pulled out the adoption papers. You're not my biological twin, Sophia. Mom had a miscarriage. Dad arranged a private adoption. They raised you as my twin because they loved you, but they never told us the truth. Sophia's face went white. She grabbed the papers, reading frantically. No, this is another one of your tricks. It's not a trick. Grace's voice broke. Dad left a letter. He wanted us both to know that you were chosen, loved, wanted. You belong to this family, Sophia. You always have. Sophia crumpled, the papers falling from her hands. I knew, she whispered. I always knew something was wrong. I didn't fit. I looked different, felt different. I thought if I was beautiful enough, successful enough, perfect enough, no one would notice I didn't belong. You belonged, Grace said fiercely. You were never an imposter. You were my sister. I destroyed your life, Sophia sobbed. I stole your date, ruined your reputation, let Ethan use me against you. Why are you here? Why don't you hate me? Because I understand now. Grace pulled Sophia into her arms. You were scared. Scared of being sent away, of being replaced, of not being enough. I felt that way my whole life too, just for different reasons. Sophia clung to her, years of jealousy and resentment pouring out in gasping sobs. I'm so sorry. Grace, I'm so sorry for everything. They held each other on the floor of the gutted apartment, two sisters finally honest for the first time in their lives. Grace's phone rang. Ethan. Sophia's eyes widened. Don't answer. Grace put it on speaker. Mr. Wong. Miss Whitfield. I thought you should know I'm holding a press conference tomorrow at noon. I'll be revealing some fascinating information about your family. Your sister's adoption, for instance. The public will be very interested to learn that the real Grace isn't who she claims to be. Actually, Grace said calmly, Sophia is exactly who she's always been, my sister. And we'll be at your press conference together. Front row. Ethan's pause was satisfying. That would be remarkably stupid. Or remarkably brave, Grace countered. See you tomorrow, Mr. Wong. She hung up. Sophia stared at her. What are you doing? He'll destroy both of us. He'll try, Grace agreed. But we're going to destroy his narrative first. You, me, Mom, and Alexander. United. The apartment door opened. Helen stood there, tears streaming down her face. I'm so sorry, girls. I should have told you years ago. Sophia, you were never second choice. You were the miracle that saved me when I thought I'd lost everything. Sophia stood shakily. You really mean that? I've been a terrible mother, Helen whispered. I favored you because I was terrified of losing you. I ignored Grace because I thought she was strong enough not to need me. I damaged both of you with my fear. We're all pretty damaged. Lucy's voice came from the doorway. She stood with Daniel and Alexander. Good thing we're also all pretty stubborn. Alexander crossed to Grace, taking her hand. Tell me what you need. Grace looked at her sister, her mother, her friends, and the man who'd chosen her when no one else had. I need to tell our story, the real one, before Ethan twists it into something ugly. Then let's go to war, Alexander said simply. Sophia wiped her eyes, straightening her shoulders. For the first time in weeks, she looked less like an influencer and more like herself. I have recordings of everything Ethan said. Every plan, every manipulation. Daniel's eyes lit up. That's exactly what we need. Then we have until tomorrow to prepare, Grace said. Sophia, are you with us? Sophia took Grace's other hand. I'm with you. Finally, the Fairmont Hotel ballroom buzzed with reporters. Ethan Wong stood at the podium, confidence radiating from every pore. His presentation slides promised the truth about the Whitfield twins, deception, manipulation, and the Billionaire's game. He was 3 minutes into his carefully crafted narrative when the ballroom doors opened. Grace and Sophia entered together, hands clasped, with Alexander, Daniel, Helen, and Lucy behind them. The room erupted in camera flashes and shouted questions. Ethan's smile faltered. Miss Whitfield, both of you, this is a private press conference. About us, Grace said calmly, walking to the front. So we thought we should be here. Alexander stepped forward, his presence commanding immediate silence. Mr. Wong has built his presentation on stolen private information and lies. Before he continues, the Whitfield family would like to share their own story. Ethan tried to regain control. This is highly irregular. So is corporate espionage, Daniel interrupted, holding up a tablet. Which is what you committed to obtain the adoption records. We have documentation. Grace took the microphone. Her hands trembled, but her voice was steady. I'm Grace Whitfield. This is my sister Sophia. 28 years ago, our parents adopted Sophia after our mother suffered a devastating miscarriage. They raised us as twins, believing that love mattered more than biology. They were right. Sophia stepped forward. I didn't know about the adoption until yesterday, but I always felt different. That insecurity drove me to do terrible things, including impersonating Grace to steal her date. I was wrong. I hurt my sister, and I hurt myself. But the real villain here isn't me or Grace. It's the man who tried to weaponize our family's private pain for revenge. Grace nodded to Daniel, who played audio recordings. Ethan's voice filled the room. We'll destroy Alexander through his girlfriend. Use the sister. She's desperate enough. Find every piece of dirt on the Whitfield family. The recording continued, detailing plans to vandalize the bakery, manipulate Sophia, and leak confidential information. Ethan's face turned purple. This is taken out of context. There is no context where corporate sabotage is acceptable, Alexander said coldly. You used a vulnerable woman to attack me. You invaded a family's privacy. You committed actual crimes because I refused to cover up your fraud 5 years ago. Helen stood, her voice shaking but clear. I made mistakes as a mother. I damaged both my daughters with my fear and favoritism. But they're healing now, together. And no man who exploits family pain for profit will destroy what we're rebuilding. Jennifer Kim stepped forward from the press corps. I have footage of Mr. Wong paying for the bakery vandalism, and emails showing he commissioned me to stalk Grace Whitfield. I'm prepared to testify. Ethan's lawyer whispered urgently in his ear. Security moved toward the podium as Ethan's remaining business partners in the audience began quietly exiting. This isn't over, Ethan hissed at Alexander. Yes, Alexander said quietly. It is. My legal team has filed restraining orders and lawsuits. Your board is currently voting to remove you, and every reporter here now knows exactly who you are. Grace watched Ethan being escorted out, his empire crumbling in real time. She felt no triumph, only exhaustion. Sophia squeezed her hand. We did it. No, Grace corrected gently. We survived it. Now comes the harder part, actually healing. The press conference dissolved into questions, but Grace and Sophia walked out together, Helen between them, her arms around both daughters. For the first time, they felt like a real family. 3 months later, spring sunshine poured through the bakery's new windows. Grace piped frosting onto cupcakes while Sophia managed inventory on a tablet, her manicured nails typing efficiently. These vanilla orders are insane, Sophia said. We need to hire another baker. Already interviewing, Grace replied, smiling. The bakery had exploded after the press conference. Customers flooded in to support the real twins, and Alexander's business loan, structured to respect Grace's independence, had funded a kitchen expansion. Sophia had transformed. Gone were the designer clothes and fake lifestyle. She wore jeans and the bakery's logo t-shirt, her social media now documenting genuine moments, flower fights with Grace, therapy sessions, blurred for privacy, learning grandmother's recipes. Her follower count had dropped to 200K, but engagement was higher. Real connection instead of performed perfection. Mom's therapy appointment is at 3, Sophia reminded Grace. We should both go. Grace nodded. Family therapy had been Helen's idea, her way of taking responsibility. It was painful, often tearful, but slowly rebuilding what had been broken. Alexander appeared in the doorway, carrying coffee from Lucy's shop next door. He'd become a fixture in the neighborhood, helping with deliveries and charming elderly customers who'd initially been suspicious of that billionaire. Lucy says Daniel's trying to learn latte art, Alexander reported, kissing Grace's flour-dusted cheek. He's terrible at it. He's terrible at anything that requires not being perfect, Grace laughed. Daniel and Lucy's relationship had bloomed, his polish versus her bluntness creating comedic gold. The anniversary party planning is done, Alexander said. 50 years of Whitfield's bakery deserves a celebration. That evening, Grace stood in the bakery's expanded kitchen, now twice its original size, and felt her grandmother's presence. The new equipment gleamed, but grandmother's original recipes hung framed on the walls. Alexander found her there, lost in thought. Nervous about the party? No. Grace turned to him. Grateful. For all of it, even the terrible parts. They led here. Alexander pulled a small box from his pocket. I've been waiting for the right moment. I don't think there will ever be a perfect one, so? He opened it, revealing a simple diamond ring. Grace Whitfield, you've taught me that real love isn't about grand gestures or public declarations. It's about showing up, fighting together, and choosing each other every day. Will you marry me? Grace's eyes filled with tears. Yes, but, Alexander looked nervous for the first time. Long engagement. I want to build our foundation properly. No rushing because it makes a good story. Alexander's relief was palpable. However long you need. I'm not going anywhere. They kissed in the kitchen where they'd first fallen in love, covered in flour, exactly as they were meant to be. Sophia found them there 20 minutes later. Gross. You're being adorable again. But she smiled, genuinely happy. Mom wants to know if we're doing Sunday dinner at her place or here. Here, Grace decided. Family dinners should happen where grandmother's recipes live. Perfect. I'll make the table arrangements look Instagram-worthy. Sophia paused. Is that okay? Using the bakery for content. As long as it's real, Grace said. No filters on the family chaos. Deal. Sophia hugged her sister. Thank you for not giving up on me. We're sisters, Grace said simply. That's what we do. As Sophia left, Alexander pulled Grace close. Your family is chaos. I know. I love it. I know that too. Later, after closing, Grace found Mrs. Wu sitting on the bakery steps. Your grandmother would be proud, Mrs. Wu said. You took broken pieces and made something stronger. Grace sat beside her. You knew this would happen. I knew truth would out, Mrs. Wu corrected. What you did with it, that was your choice. You chose love over bitterness. That's why you'll be happy. Grace looked at her engagement ring, simple and real. I hope so. Hope is for beginners, Mrs. Wu smiled. You've graduated to joy. 1 year later, fairy lights transformed the bakery's courtyard into magic. 100 guests, no more, filled mismatched chairs decorated with flowers from Mrs. Wu's garden. Grace waited inside, wearing her grandmother's pearls with her simple silk dress. Sophia adjusted her veil, now genuinely the supportive sister. You look perfect, Sophia said. Not magazine perfect. Real perfect. Helen dabbed her eyes. Both my daughters, exactly who they're meant to be. Lucy burst in. Daniel just tripped over the unity candle. He's fine. The candle's fine. His dignity is wounded. Time to go save him with marriage vows. Grace laughed, taking her mother's arm. They walked down the aisle together. Helen's way of showing equal love for both daughters. Alexander waited at the altar, Daniel beside him as best man, and Grace had never seen anyone look at her the way Alexander did. Dearly beloved, the officiant began, but Grace barely heard the traditional words. She was focused on Alexander's eyes, on the promise they held. Their vows were personal. Alexander promised to see you. Always. Not your sister, not a role, just Grace herself. Grace promised to challenge you when money can't fix things, and hold you when nothing can. The kiss was sweet, earning applause and wolf whistles from Lucy. At the reception, the pastries told their story. Egg tarts for Alexander's mother, grandmother's honey almond cake, and a playful dessert called the mistaken identity that made everyone laugh. Sophia's maid of honor toast was tearful but honest. I spent years being jealous of Grace. Turns out, I should have been learning from her. She taught me that real beauty is character, forgiveness costs more than pride, and family isn't about blood, it's about choice. Grace chose to save me when she could have let me fall. That's love. She raised her glass. To my sister, who saw the best in everyone, even when we didn't deserve it. Mrs. Wu gave the final toast. Some families are born. Some are made. The best are rebuilt with intention. The Chens and Whitfields are now one family, built on truth and sweetened with love. Grace danced with Alexander, then Sophia, then her mother, then Daniel, who was surprisingly graceful. The celebration lasted until midnight, when Grace and Alexander finally escaped to the bakery's kitchen. Still in their wedding attire, Grace pulled out ingredients. Alexander laughed. We're baking? On our wedding night. We're making egg tarts, Grace corrected. Tradition. They worked together in comfortable silence, flour dusting her dress, frosting on his sleeve. When the tarts emerged golden and perfect, Alexander tasted one. Even better than that first night, he said. Grace smiled, revealing her secret. That's because these are made with joy, not hope. Hope was for the future we wanted. Joy is for the life we built. Alexander pulled her close, tasting sugar and promises on her lips. Outside, their families and friends celebrated. Tomorrow, they'd honeymoon somewhere simple. Next week, Grace would start teaching pastry classes while Sophia managed the bakery's expansion. But tonight was about this moment, flour-covered and perfect, exactly where they were meant to be. I love you, Alexander whispered. Thank you for choosing me. I love you too, Grace replied. Thank you for seeing me. They stayed in that kitchen until dawn, baking and laughing and building their forever one egg tart at a time. Some love stories begin with deception. The best ones survive it and become truth. This was one of those stories. Up next, we have 2 more incredible stories that are waiting for you. Just click the image you want to watch, and it will take you there. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe. It would mean a lot.